She didn't cry when they came for her daughter. She had been waiting for them. The 7 elders of Nka Isong arrived at Nkoyo's door before sunrise, robes, masks, the full weight of 40 years of authority behind them. They had made this walk before. They knew exactly how it ended, but Nkoyo was already standing at her door. George fabric, dry eyes, baby Adiaba sleeping against her back, and something gripped in her right hand that made Edubum Asibong, the most feared man in 3 villages, slow his steps without meaning to. He looked at her hand, he looked at her face, and something he had not felt in a very long time moved through his chest. He did not have a name for it yet, but Nkoyo did. If you're not subscribed yet, do it right now. Because the person you're about to root against in this story is not who you think. Let's go. Nka Isong sat deep in the forest interior near the Cross River, a closed, Efik-speaking community governed by the iron grip of the Ek society. 7 elders, one law above all others. The Dark Moon Law, called Enwed Isong, the Earth's rejection, decreed that a female child born under the Dark Moon carried the spirit of misfortune. She was to be returned to the river within 3 days. Nkoyo had not come to Nka Isong for love. Her family in Odokpani arranged the union to strengthen a trade relationship, and she had accepted it because Akin was kind in those early days. He had a voice that made her feel like the ground beneath her feet was solid. He brought her garden eggs from the market without being asked. He remembered the way she took her pepper soup light, with extra fish. She had loved him quietly and completely. Their firstborn, Akpan, brought Akin great honor in the village. This second pregnancy was supposed to cement it. But the night Adiaba arrived, the midwife Ekinum's face said everything before her mouth could. Dark Moon. Akin stood outside by the compound fire, jaw tight. Ekinum wrapped the baby quickly and stepped aside. Nkoyo held her daughter and felt the weight of her small, warm breathing. She pressed her lips to the child's forehead. Adiaba, she whispered, first daughter. Like a declaration carved in stone, Akin stepped into the doorway. He looked at Nkoyo. He did not look at the baby. That single thing, that he could not look at his own daughter, told Nkoyo everything she needed to know about what he was about to do. He left without a word. By the first cock crow over Nka Isong, Akin had already done the thing Nkoyo feared most. He did not wait for morning. He did not go reluctantly. Akin walked straight to Edubum Asibong's compound that same night and reported the birth himself, before anyone asked, before the elders came, before the custom even required it. He ran to them. Nkoyo had prepositioned Ekinum outside Edubum's compound deliberately that night. When Ekinum returned and told her what she had overheard, the time of collection confirmed for the following sunset, Nkoyo did not rage. She did not weep. She looked at Adiaba sleeping on the mat. Then she said something so calm and so precise that Ekinum stood frozen in the doorway. What Nkoyo said in that room, Ekinum would repeat word for word to the entire village 3 days later. And not one person who heard it would ever forget it. Drop a comment below. What do you think Nkoyo said? Keep watching. 7 months before that night, Nkoyo had found Nkakum. The old woman lived beyond the forest edge, banished from Nka Isong 15 years ago, whispered about as a spirit woman. In truth, she was something far more dangerous. She was the widow of a former Ek elder who had tried to expose the Enwed Isong law and been silenced and driven out. She had kept everything. Scrolls written in Ensabiti, the ancient Efik symbolic script, that only initiated Ek members could read. Nkakum had pressed those scrolls into Nkoyo's hands the first night they met. They will come for your daughter, Nkakum said. And when they do, you will already be standing. She taught Nkoyo the Eb Isong, a counter-decree buried inside Nka Isong's own founding laws, older than the current Ek hierarchy, that granted a mother the ancestral right to publicly challenge any death sentence placed on her child. But the Eb Isong required one condition: a standing witness from inside the Ek who would publicly confirm the Enwed Isong law was fabricated. Not ancestral. Made up. Nkoyo had chosen her witness 7 months ago. And the name she chose was the last one anyone in Nka Isong would ever expect. It was Akin, not despite his betrayal. Because of something she knew about him, something buried so deep inside him he had almost stopped knowing it himself. Akin had an older sister, born before him, a dark moon daughter. Their father surrendered her to the Ekp elders when Akin was barely 2 years old. He was told she died at birth. He had carried that story his entire life without once questioning it. Nkoyo had discovered the truth through Nkakam's Ensabidi records 6 months ago. Akin's sister was never killed. She was taken. Nkoyo had said nothing. She had been waiting for exactly this night. When Ekinum brought Akin back to the room and Nkoyo told him what she knew, his face did not crumble. It dissolved. The man who had run to report his own daughter to the Ek now sat on the floor of his own home, learning that the same Ek had stolen his sister before he was old enough to grieve her. He went silent for so long that Nkoyo said his name twice. Then he asked one question, just one, in a voice so quiet Ekinum had to lean in to hear it. The answer to that question would not come until the very end of this story. Stay with it. Slowly, Akin stood. And the look on his face was something Nkoyo had never once seen there in 6 years of marriage. If this story is gripping you, hit the like button right now. It helps more than you know. Morning came hard and bright over Nka Isong. The Ekp elders arrived in the village square in full regalia, masks, staffs, the ceremony of power. The village gathered around them the way people gather when they already know how something ends. Nkoyo walked out. Adiaba on her back, George fabric. Head high she began to speak old Efik dialect, words most of the village had never heard strung together that way. The Eb Isong. The crowd murmured. Edubum Asibong smiled the way men smile when they are not yet afraid but are about to be. Then Akin stepped forward. He stood in front of the elders in front of the village, and spoke with a steadiness in his voice that made Nkoyo's chest tighten with something that felt, despite everything, like love. Enwed Isong was never in the founding laws of Nka Isong, he said. I am Ekp. I have read the scrolls. What was done to our daughters was never the will of our ancestors. Eduba Masibong's smile did not fade. It vanished. Then Nkakam was carried out from the tree line on a wooden chair, 2 young women bearing her through the crowd. She opened the Ensabidi scrolls before the village. The elders went still. Every name, every dark moon daughter, every land title transferred the morning after a girl was taken 40 years, built by Eduba Masibong's own father, maintained by his son. The tradition was never tradition. It was organized theft, female heirs eliminated so land passed exclusively through male Ek bloodlines. The daughters were never returned to any river. Eduba Masibong looked at the scrolls. He looked at the crowd. Then he did something no one anticipated. He lunged. Not at Nkoyo, not at Adiaba, at Nkakam, the one person whose testimony could finish him completely. Nkoyo stepped between them. What she did next happened in 3 seconds of absolute stillness. The narrator will not dress it in spectacle. She did what she had prepared her heart to do from the moment she understood what kind of village she had carried a daughter into. Edubum Asibong fell. The crowd did not move. Adiaba slept through all of it, warm against her mother's back, stay until the end. Because what they found beneath that compound changes everything, including something about Akin that will break your heart and put it back together. The remaining elders surrendered. The village, guided by Nkakam's exact directions, stormed Eduba Masibong's compound. Beneath the floor of his personal Ek shrine, a hidden room built into the earth. Inside, 40 years of Ensabidi records, names, dates, land transfers. And deeper than all of it, 17 women, alive, taken not killed, used as labor on land stolen from their own family's inheritance. The village carried them out into daylight one by one. Among them, a woman in her late 30s with Akin's exact jaw, his same deep-set eyes, his same way of holding her hands together when she was still, his sister, Adiaha, alive. In Nka Isong the entire time, nobody spoke. The compound yard held only the sound of the Cross River in the distance, and 17 women blinking at a sky they were relearning. Some held each other. Some stood alone and very still. The village let that image exist without rushing past it. It needed to breathe. Akin found Adiaha by the mango tree at the compound edge. They sat together by the river for a long time, and there, quietly, just between them, Akin finally asked the question he had asked in that room the night before. Did she know I was looking for her? Adiaha looked at him. She knew you didn't know she existed. He closed his eyes. The remaining Ekp elders were bound and held for regional authorities. Enchanting was carried back through Nka Isong's main gate surrounded by the women who once whispered her name in fear. She said nothing. She simply looked at the village she had been driven from 15 years ago and let it look back at her. Akin walked back to Enkoyo at the compound entrance. He did not ask for forgiveness. He stood beside her and looked at Adiaba for a long, quiet moment. "Her name is Adiaba," Enkoyo said. "First daughter, make sure from today you know what that means." He nodded. It was not enough and they both knew it, but it was a beginning. A new council was formed, Enkakam, Ekinum, and 4 village women among its founding voices. Nka Isong held its first daughter-naming ceremony in 40 years. The coral beads came out. The Cross River was called not to take, but to witness. They built a lie in the language of ancestors and called it law. They gave it an Ek title and a dark moon, and made mothers afraid of their own daughters' faces. But the ancestors of Nka Isong never asked for daughters to disappear. That was the invention of men who wanted land and called it culture. Enkoyo didn't just save Adiaba that morning. She reached 40 years back into the dark and brought every stolen daughter home. If this story moved something in you, share it. One share puts this in front of someone who needs to hear it tonight. Subscribe if you haven't and tell me in the comments, what was the moment this story stopped being predictable for you? We'll be back, and it hits just as hard.